Fires a long one. Nothing but net. Oh, my goodness. Didn't see that coming. I'm diddly dee.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of All Nat, brought to you by OTS. I'm here today with two Twitter legends. I'm going to start with ladies first, okay? So I have Jasmine Watkins here, who I'm like so honored. She agreed to be on my show. She is a GOAT. She works for Buzzer, but you probably always recognize her presence before. You know, she's a Twitter royalty. So thank you, Jasmine, for being on. She's also one of my sorors, Delta Sigma Theta, you know, the best sorority in the world.
The only sorority.
The only, for real. So I'm so delighted that you agreed to be on. Thank you, Jazz, for joining the show.
It's my pleasure. Like we kick it, we talk sometimes. So I'm just happy to be here.
Thank you so much. And then of course I have the other legend, AJ. Everyone knows him. You know, he's apparently a fan of multiple teams. Multiple players. He doesn't ride with one person, but that's okay. I respect it because he's open about it. Social media manager at 24/7 Sports, but AJ is a big sports head, and I'm so happy that you decided to be on today. Thank you.
Hey, happy to be in the presence of legends, man. Jazz and Nat, y'all are two people I look up to in the hoop world, in the Twitter world. So, happy to be here, kicking it with a couple queens. I mean,
thank you. Also representing the Divine Nine, right?
Yes. You already know the Ice Cold brothers out here.
So, Jazz, you were out at All-Star Weekend. AJ, were you out there at all, or just Jasmine?
Oh no, that was just Jazz living it up. Yeah, I mean, I watched it at the crib in New York. I'm very religious about some of these sporting events. Like I like to have my own space, and sometimes don't really want to be around a lot of people. So watched it, theater style at the crib, and got to see Wardell go off. I'm a little upset that you said I don't rock with one person, because I rock with Wardell pretty hard.
You do, but you're a Lakers adjacent fan, is that correct?
Yeah, so grew up West Philly, Kobe, West Philly, grew up rooting for Kobe and the Lakers, and have stuck with them, still have them in my heart from a youngin'. So yeah, Lakers adjacent is what I'd say,
Okay. Because you have a thing too, like in football, you're with like Patrick Mahomes, so you kind of have a thing. But that's not actually, is that your team or?
The Chiefs are my team. Yeah, for sure.
Before him?
Yeah, before him. Yeah.
Okay,
Since a youngin, the Chiefs were my team.
Jasmine doesn't look like she believes you.
Oh no.
But once people from when I was a youngin will tell you I've been rocking with the Chiefs, but I wish
why not the Eagles? I don't understand.
I rocked with the Eagles a little bit, but they traded my favorite player when I was a kid, Terrell Owens. They got rid of him. They wouldn't pay him his money. And he's my favorite player of all time. So when they got rid of him, I was like, yeah, I can't really rock with y'all no more. And I like the color red. No lie. When I was a kid, I picked teams. I'm an Ohio State Buckeye for life. And it was the same thing with the Chiefs. I was like, who's this red team that's got this explosive offense? And had Priest Holmes on my childhood bedroom wall. So gotcha. I that's the only thing I take exception to. When people say I haven't been rocking with the Chiefs, I get really upset.
Okay. So you like red. That's why you're here with the Reds. I got it.
Yeah.
Okay, now I do have a real question, Jasmine, that I want to ask you, but have you guys watched Bel Air? Have you guys checked it out yet?
I haven't.
Are you planning to?
I kind of want to, like I was against it, but now people are saying it's not like the actual
No, it's a drama.
At all? Okay.
But I need to know what you think after you check it out, because they have some references to, you see that, AJ?
I literally, after the All-Star game, so I watched, like Jazz was saying, I was not going to check it out. I was like, I'm like so stuck. I'm like old head, like stuck on the OG one. And so I was like, no, I'm not going to give this new joint any spin. literally like 3 people back to back were like, you have to watch. My sister literally called me
It's
and was
really
like,
good, I think.
she was like, yo, you gotta check it out. So I watched the first episode, and then I just saw the one last night after the All-Star game where they get into all the Greek stuff.
Some of their references are hilarious. I'm like, they definitely have a real person working with them on this. So
Absolutely. They were like, they were at one point doing a stroll that my chapter did, and I was like, oh wow, yeah, they must have somebody like really in here doing this with them. This is crazy.
yeah, they were throwing shade at this one soror. Like the fraternity on there is definitely the alphas, but they loosely refer to like sororities on there. So I don't think they are calling out a specific sorority, but they're just like, whatever. They didn't like someone. They like, she pledged alumni chapter anyway. I was like, say this on a show. It was crazy. I was like, my mouth dropped open. So you gotta check it out.
I might. That's something I would say. So now I'm intrigued.
There are a lot, like the thing that hooked me in was the Philly in it. Like from the opening scene, they have like Freeway, they bump What We Do.
Yes.
He's saying
Authentic.
John. Yeah.
Because I went to school in Philly, so I know a lot of Philly references. You know, I went to Temple. So I felt it was very Philly. It's kind of like why I love Raising Canaan, because like it's authentically New York. Like they got the references right. So I felt like it was pretty accurate to Philly, but
that's a really hard show to get into.
Raising Canaan?
Yes, and I love Power.
Why? Tell me why is it hard?
I don't know. It's just like a snooze fest. It's boring. Like the first Power was great, obviously. And then like Power with Ghost, Fire. And I'm like, Raising Canaan is about to be Fire too. It's not.
I feel like everyone who's not from New York feels like that. I feel like everyone I know dead ass, like everyone from New York loves Raising Canaan. And I feel like a lot of people who are not are the people who keep telling me this. Like it's boring. I only think Tommy's boring. I just watched the 3rd episode and I'm still not moved.
Okay, that's fair. Give it time. I've seen 2 episodes. So
the second one was better than the first.
Yes.
But then last night I was like, I felt like it regressed a little bit.
Well, you are hard to impress.
Oh my gosh, what do you mean? I'm so impressed with you and AJ. That's why you're here. So
I had to drop Power a long time ago. So I always feel weird when people start talking about all these spinoffs, because I'm like, I dropped out maybe like 5 years ago.
Seriously?
Oh.
It was like season 4 or something. Like I was all in on it. I used to steal people's or I used to make trash email accounts just to like get a free trial to watch Power. I was that deep into it. And yeah, I had to drop it season 4 because I was like, okay, this is just getting ridiculous.
It did go a little off the rails, and I didn't have high expectations for the spinoffs, but I've actually been pleased with all of them until Tommy. So I'm disappointed, Jasmine, that you don't like Raising Canaan.
Yeah, I can't do it. I gave it 2 episodes. Maybe I'll try again, but it's disappointing. Almost as disappointing as like AJ not just paying for like a Hulu trial. Or
yeah.
No, this is back because we're like almost like a decade into Power at this point, aren't we? Like,
it doesn't matter.
Didn't it drop it?
It wasn't that expensive though, even back then.
Nah, but back then I was a broke college student.
Okay.
So I was like, nah, man. Like literally, me and my girlfriend at the time, we would trade each week. We would make a fake email account just to get a free trial. we were those broke college students.
Oh my goodness. Okay. All right. Back to All Stars. So Jasmine, you were there. So like I was watching on TV and we were saying like the crowd is so dead. They're like was it really like that in person, or was it just not coming across the screen clearly to us?
Well, which night?
Okay, let's start with Saturday night.
Saturday, yes, the crowd was dead. But also it's Cleveland, and the stuff kind of did suck. Like the dunk contest,
Yes.
or dunk attempt contest was pretty trash. Like I wasn't into the skills part, and where I was sitting, and I'm not trying to like hype myself up, but I was sitting very low. So I think the people I was around were like too cool to
So
clap
keep it
or
up,
cheer.
yeah.
Yeah. So I can definitely see why it seemed dead on Saturday. Like the
But
best part was DJ Khaled.
it was. It was. Well, was it better Sunday?
I thought a lot more people were into the game, and then like I remember like Mike coming out, and that got like pretty big applause, and like
How
they showed.
loud were the boos for my boy?
Oh, they were crazy every time because even when he did that thing with like Aisha, and they were like sipping the
Oh,
Gatorade,
I know he got booed.
they booed him every single time they mentioned Steph. Although it was crazy because like the actual game, they were not booing. Like once he got up to I think like 40,
Yeah.
then they were into him, and I'm like, y'all don't know. Like I just thought it was like whack. But no matter like how much I love the Lakers, I love Steph too. Like I like to see greatness. So
Right.
that's my whole thing. But yeah, the boos are super loud for him, almost as loud for like Dre, which I can understand. He's
You
Dre
know
is
what?
great to me.
Oh yeah, Dre's.
Someone said I'm the Draymond of Warriors Twitter, so I don't know if that's an apt comparison.
I was just about to say he is so hard to like, but wow. Okay. We'll pull that
Nah,
back.
I like that comparison. It's like when you on my side, when you on my side, I love you, Nat, and when you going against me, I'd be like, she's killing me right now.
It's,
So
it's
that's
hard to see
perfect.
people.
But
from
I'm
the-
on your side more than I'm not.
That's real. You are on my side.
It's hard to see people like beefing with each other that I rock with because I just have to like sit there and like keep scrolling. I'm not trying to get in that, but
I'm never beefing with AJ though, for real. You know, it's like it's not. I feel like if you can actually know me and hear my tone, you would know it's not that bad. But like when you're on Twitter, right, it comes across like people are like, you're just an old, angry person. And I'm just like, I'm one of the happiest people in the world. Like they used to call me Smiley. I smile all the time. I was a cheerleader.
people be taking Twitter like so serious, and I'm just like, bro, you gotta calm down. Like,
All for jokes, man. All for
Yeah.
jokes. I hate it. I hate it too, man. Especially when you get a generation that's even older than us on Twitter, they take everything seriously.
oh
And
yes.
I'd be like, "Woof, I'm really just here for the jokes." Like,
You really are. That's like your entire presence for the most part.
Yeah.
I'm just here for the jokes. There's very little that I take seriously on there. Because if you do, you'll lose your mind. First of all, like there's so much idiocy on Twitter that you'll lose your mind if you don't just have fun.
Facts.
Yeah.
Facts.
People don't believe me, but I keep saying like the sweet spot is like maybe 10,000 followers, and anything above that, like people are coming at you crazy about every single thing.
Where
Like
you
I've had
at
like
now?
I don't know.
You're up
20,
over. She's up over 20.
20
She's up
something.
over
I don't
20.
know, but it's just scary. Like the more people, because some of them are just like legit random, and I don't know. Some follow you just to troll, and it's
The
like
the
I
good
know.
thing, well, the good thing about you though, you with the check, I know this from managing accounts. You can filter a lot of the nonsense out when you're verified. Like
Yes,
I,
but
I remember I remember yeah, go ahead.
some of my people are unverified. Like,
Yeah.
and I do want to like chop it up with them.
Yeah, that's true. But I just mean like you can filter out a lot of nonsense when you have a verified if you want to.
Yeah.
My thing is always mute conversation. As soon as it starts getting crazy, mute combo. I'm not part of this.
Mute is definitely, yeah. I use the mute
Yeah.
button a lot. All
So
those Lakers who fans who pack me up like on a regular basis. I don't even be seeing their responses. Seriously, like people DM me like they said this, and I'm like, oh really? I had no idea. Sometimes I get packed up on a tweet and I didn't even know I got packed up because like I literally don't see it. I'm like,
when do you mute your tweets?
me, like after like a few responses or like the moment I start seeing people get like personal, like there's just certain tweets, like I don't know, it's so triggering for them. I think I had one like early in the season where I was just like, oh, it's gonna be real funny when the Lakers don't come out the West. And oh, this is like before the season started, they came at me. And now the other day I went back to Rye, was like, so Rye, how we feeling about this now, and because he was one of the people who quoted me and brought more people to my mentions. So and then what was the one I did? You guys had went like on a little 3-game win streak, I think. And I was just like,
Not a little.
Yeah, I know that was shade a little
Kind of
bit.
like downplay our achievements.
But I mean, like, it wasn't the best teams, and it was like, the Blazers. And so I said something about that. I was just like, one of those like check notes, who was it against? And like they came at me that night. Like, I was just like, all right, enough.
Hey, Jazz.
Lakers Twitter forced me to shut down my DMs. They're psychos. With all due respect.
No, they be coming at you crazy. That's why certain things I don't even start with anymore because I'm like, nah, I don't have time for it, man. But yo, about the booze though. So it's interesting that you said that the crowd was more lively during the All-Star game. I was so geeked at the crib, I mean, may or may not have had some substances. I was so geeked at the crib and like literally enjoying the game. Like every dunk, every three that Steph was hitting, I'm losing my mind. So I didn't even hear the crowd. All I know is at the end of the game, EJ comes out, oh, this has been a great All-Star game, great Saturday night. And I just remember him being like, isn't that right, crowd? And like nobody said anything. It was like, yeah. And I was like, damn. I was like, after that game, because I thought the game itself was amazing. I was like, even after that game, y'all are still dead. And somebody responded to me on Twitter and was like, it's because of Steph. We refuse to cheer Steph. And I don't know. I guess that's
even though
my
he's
question.
Giving mad money to the Cleveland schools.
Facts. But I guess that's my question is like, was I tripping? Was it just not coming through, or was it still kind of dead towards the end of that game?
I thought it was lively. Like at the very end, I remember the LeBron shot, everybody cheering. And then like as Steph was getting the MVP, I was walking, like I was in the tunnel, but it did sound super quiet. Yeah. And I'm thinking like, maybe that's just me, but now I'm hearing it back. I'm like, oh, well.
Like they didn't even boo him when he got the trophy. Like I didn't even hear boos.
I mean, that was better than the booing, though. I mean, I think the only time I didn't hear them really like go hard with the boos is at halftime during like the ceremony when his name was called. I mean, I didn't hear the boos, if they were there, as loudly as like other points in the night. Is that accurate or no?
No, that's accurate.
Okay.
It was so weird. It's like you're picking and choosing. Like when he's introed at the beginning, you're booing. He's in the halftime thing, you're not booing. He's playing, you're booing, but then he gets like 35, 40, you're not booing. And I just think it's annoying. But that's just me. Also, like I was live tweeting, so I'm only like hearing. I'm barely like seeing what's happening. So
him and Dre like both had, the crowd had a real like visceral reaction to them. So I mean, I enjoyed it. They laughed about it. All they did was encourage him to like do what he did. I mean, he was gonna do that anyway because he had like a benefit. So he was gonna try to like, I think, go for it. But they really like they loved that. So they only helped him.
Yeah. And I don't know, maybe just for me, because I'm like a hoops purist. I'm like, when are you going to get to see Steph on the 75th anniversary hoop like this? And
I get you.
but that's once again, that's just I'm trying to think of like a player I once like really hated, and I don't think I've like legit hated any. Like even when they had like the Kobe LeBron thing, like back in the day, I probably disliked the Cavs and LeBron, but I'm like, man, this dude is still fire. Like I couldn't hate.
That that right there is why in 2022 it's hard for me to root for LeBron as a Laker, is I spent so much time going hard for Kobe. And it's like, how can I root for this dude? And then I went and copped the jersey. I was like, I'm on board.
Oh,
And
we
then
know.
they finished 10th in the West. And he basically quit on the team. And I was like, how can I root for this guy? So I'm in a little bit of a hiatus stage at this point, you know.
Okay,
This is a good transition topic. Go ahead, Jasmine.
you're a bit of a jinx. And this, I remember you saying something about like Georgia in the SEC championship, and you were like, "Yeah, let's go Georgia," and they lost. And I was just like, "Please don't ever root for my team again." So
I was
I'm good with AJ not being on my side.
I was rocking with them against Michigan and against Bama in the title game too, though. So, you know, I feel like I actually brought some good luck to y'all. And I had fun my little bit of time rooting for the dogs. You know what I mean? I learned a couple phrases with my dog nation. You know what I mean?
Stop it! Stop it! Man, please change the subject.
But it's funny because there's a lot of Lakers fans who feel like AJ. It's weird. Like you guys kind of have like a
Yeah.
divide civil war going on right now. So some who are just like, I'm taking a break from the Lakers. And I mean, of course, I know within that there were probably just like true Kobe stans, and that's all they were. So you have like Kobe stans, you have like the Laker fans who were so devoted to Kobe that they feel like a level of betrayal. You have like Lakers fans who just don't like that, like the young core was gutted. They don't feel like the returns were worth it, And then you have like the people just like, whatever, he's on our team now, we embrace him. And then you have the LeBron stands. You guys have a lot of factions right now. So how are you feeling as a Laker fan right now, Jasmine? Just about the state of the Lakers.
As a Laker fan, I don't like the divide between us. I do feel like I knew once LeBron came over, there would be some like LeBron stands coming with him, which I really do not like. I don't like team hopping, but I don't know. I feel okay with the Lakers. Like it took a minute for me to get over like BI and Zoe. And then even Alex Caruso, I was upset about that. Like so many moves I've just been very upset with. But I just there comes a point when you just stop letting the Lakers upset you, get your blood pressure up, and that's kind of where I am right now. And it's just kind of like using what we got at this point, which is
the one ring enough? Like if there's no more rings before the LeBron tenure ends, was the one enough for in your mind to justify everything that happened?
One is never enough in Lakerland. That's just me. I'm used to multiples, but no, I can see him getting another one though. Like if AD can like just stand up for 5 minutes straight, and Westbrook, I don't know what's going on with him, but we get decent play, and sometimes THT is decent. If all that kind of comes together, we could be okay in the playoffs. I'm not saying we would come out of anywhere, but I try not to be like those delusional Laker fans.
No, I mean, that's real, because I was having this conversation with someone today, and I think he's probably more of a LeBron stan, but I don't know who the person is. I didn't even see the tweet, but apparently someone responded. There was that picture after the 75, top 75, and it was like Laker legends. You saw that like floating around on Twitter, and a whole debate ensued about whether LeBron is a Laker legend. And I actually see both sides of the argument. I tend to go on the side that like it's really hard to consider him a legend. Like, but if you're measure a Laker legend, he's obviously a legend. He's LeBron James. But if your measure is just like, well, they got one ring, so yes, then I guess. But I feel like that would apply if you were like Kawhi Leonard ringing a chip for the Clippers, right? Or if you're Damon Lillard, winning for like the Blazers. I was like, you have to understand these are the Lakers. They have a standard and expectation of winning. And you like first year, no playoffs. Then the second year, you guys make it to the finals. Then last year, it's a play-in, which, they're the Lakers, so they don't expect to be in a play-in. And then it's a first round out. And then this year, it's looking shaky, right? And so we don't know what's going to happen. And so when you look at each year, like, I think, like, even if you guys were winning and it was like a bunch of finals trips, like, it would be different, but it's not. So I understand the people who don't view him as that, but that was like a whole debate that was going on. So, like, do you consider him right now Laker legend?
LeBron is a legend who happens to be a Laker.
That's what I said.
Yeah, not a Laker legend.
Big facts.
That's where you land to, AJ.
Yeah, he's first of all, it's hard for him to be a legend in any of these franchises, considering he's been such a hired gun for most of his career. Like, he's absolutely a Cavs legend. Well, I think we'll all think of LeBron as a Cav. Obviously, bringing the one title to Cleveland, and that might be the only title they get for another 50 years.
You don't think he's a Heat legend? I think there's a case to be made for that. No,
there's a case to be made, but no. I mean, the first of all, the thing that stands out about the Heat is their org. We all think of Spoelstra, we all think of Riley, we all think of the Heat culture, quote unquote, whatever you think that is. But that's what you think of first, and then it's Dwayne. It's just like KD, right? Like, I think we would consider KD to be a Warriors legend, but at the same time, that was Steph's team, and that was Dwayne's team in Miami, and those guys are the franchise legends. Those guys are the ones that brought the franchise back. LeBron and KD were really the hired guns, and it's like, yeah, they're legendary basketball players, obviously, two of the best 10 or 15 of all time. But yeah, no, it's hard to consider LeBron a Laker legend. And then not only the fact you already mentioned it, but the other thing I was gonna ask Jazz about is, do you consider this run to be a failure, point blank? I think I mentioned it softly on Twitter again because Laker fans will dunk on me if I say anything stronger. But like, I just to me think we're bordering now on this run being a failure. I think there's a case to be made.
Failure or underachieving, or do you think of those as the same thing?
That might be a better way to put it, but even still, I think we're bordering on failure. One title in the bubble, which we all believe was a little iffy.
Jasmine doesn't agree with you.
It's a legitimate championship. They won the title. They're 2020 NBA champions, 17 rings, the greatest franchise in NBA history. But the bubble was iffy. I mean, we all can recognize that in a controlled environment with no fans and perfect sight lines, Jamal Murray was 50-50, 100.
Man, you call Jamal Curry all the time. Oh, I'm glad that you acknowledge it here.
I love Jamal.
As long as you acknowledge it here. Okay, go ahead.
I love Jamal. The Nuggets win the title, or they win the West last year if Jamal was healthy. I'll put that on wax. But no, I think it's absolutely underachieving, and I think if they don't make the playoffs this season, you're looking at 2 seasons not making the playoffs and 1 season a first round exit, and then your bubble chip. I think it's clearly underachieving, and I think there is, with the expectations when LeBron signed in Los Angeles, I think you're pretty clearly looking at a failure. I mean, for especially for Lakers standards, Jazz, like, one chip in general, if it wasn't in the bubble, would have had fans like, what the hell? We should have done more. But the fact that we all know that was a little iffy. AD's never shot that well in his life. He's never shot that well in his life. And he was shooting 50% from 3 in the bubble. And so I don't know. I want to hear from you because again, I'm a little Laker adjacent, and I have some biases here, but I just feel like the 4-year run has been incredibly underwhelming.
And I definitely have bias, so I'm gonna definitely let you guys have like the floor on this. But I just always felt like that was a very strong reason why LeBron pushed for that bubble and like for the season to continue, because there would be really no challenge to him. And like I get the whole like sentimental Kobe stuff, so I don't want to like disregard that, but like Steph's out that season, KD's down that season. I mean, you really have like no one standing in your path who could possibly stand in your path, and it's going to be in the bubble. Like, go get that ring because you're getting older. You don't know what it's going to be like. I'm not saying that means he's incapable of winning under normal circumstances, but I'm sure that had to be a calculation in his mind. You won't convince me otherwise, but that's just me.
Wow. I had no clue y'all felt like this. I thought LeBron pushed for the bubble because you go through the whole season, then there's the COVID thing, and it's like, oh, we worked for this part, like, let's finish it out. I thought the bubble was hard. You're away from your families. You are in this like standard of living that's lower than your normal standard of living. There's no fans. You're getting no like, you're going on a run. You're not hearing the cheers. You're not hearing the boos. It's tough. And games were played closer together. And I don't know. I thought it was tough. I don't consider it like a bubble ring. Yes, they did win it in the bubble, but that was pretty hard.
It's a legit title, but
Not even calling it the bubble ring.
I don't call it the bubble ring. It's a legit championship. There were certain circumstances there, whether you think it made it more difficult or less difficult. There were circumstances there that everybody had. They won the title. It's a championship. It counted. I'm just saying for this run, though, you have to admit that if they don't make the playoffs this season, and then you're basically staring at. So I had somebody DM me the other day and ask me, should the Lakers consider trading Bron? I don't think that's going to happen, but you're basically looking at a contract year for Bron. He's already talking about, I want to play where Bronny's at. I don't know. Is it underachieving? Could you consider this run a failure?
It's not a failure, but I think you have to understand when you're talking about Laker fans, average is never enough. So obviously you win 0 rings, that's not enough. 1, it's still not enough. He could have won 3 out of 4 years that he signed, and Laker fans would probably still say that's still not enough. Like,
but what would be a reasonable standard that would make him a Laker legend, and you'd be like, nah, this was successful?
Oh, he's, in my eyes, he's not going to be a Laker legend. He would have to play way longer than he probably could. Because I'm thinking Laker legends. I'm thinking Kareem, Magic, Worthy, Kobe, Shaq. Like, not LeBron. Like, I know why he came to the Lakers, and yes, like, it's a great org, whatever, but part of it was being in LA, Space Jam 2. So I don't think he came to the Lakers for the same reasons that maybe other Laker legends were here for. Maybe. Like,
I'm so glad to hear you admit this on wax. This is amazing. I'm gonna clip this and put it everywhere. I'm gonna ruin your rep on Laker Twitter.
I'm telling you, I tell everybody, like, LeBron, top 3 for me.
Okay.
I love the Lakers before he got there, while he's here, and we'll love them after. So to me, he's just another player on the Lakers. I'm not moved greatly by like LeBron like other people are.
Yeah, I'm not
Again,
either, as you both know, but like his
yeah.
fans do not appreciate the fact that y'all would even suggest that he is not a Laker legend. Like they're like, he's not up there with the others, but he won a ring. Like, but this isn't fucking Cleveland. Like they don't think like that there.
Not when you had Kobe win 5, and you had Shaq win 3, and then before that it was Magic winning 5, and then you go back further than that, your Jerry Wests and Wilts were dominating. So I don't know. To me, to make it a successful run, he would have had to have won at least 2 titles.
Yeah.
And then to be considered legend status, I really think he would have had to have approached 3 maybe in this run to really be considered a Laker legend.
Ooh, I would have said 4. You got to understand, like, Laker legend standards are different from Cleveland legend standards. And it's multiple titles.
This is the 4th year, right?
This is the 4th year.
So yeah, so 2 to me is like still.
I think you could.
Because he did 2 in 4 years with the Heat. So like, if there's gonna be a 5th year, to me, it has to be at least 3, right? Like if it's out of 4 years, then it's like, okay, it's 2 and 4. But like of those 4 years, it wasn't 4 straight trips to the finals.
Yeah, and I even think he underachieved with the Heat, and that's just because you're talking about prime LeBron. I think a lot of us would say those were probably his prime of prime years when he was at his best. And for him to only come out with 2 titles with the Heat in the super team era, when everybody was looking for a three-peat, everybody thought this team was going to be unstoppable. I thought that was underachieving, but I think it would have been a successful run in LA if he got 2 chips. I think you could look back and say, we got rid of Zoe, we got rid of BI, whatever, but 2 titles, multiple rings, they would then have the most championships in NBA history. I think it would be successfully resurrecting the franchise, and it would have been a success. Even if you think it was underachieving for what they could have done, I think multiple chips, you can say, all right, we brought back the Lakers. And then I really do think more Laker fans who were of the Kobe age might even be like, look, he brought the Lakers back. I can't even hate. But the 1 chip is just, and again, because of the circumstances of the chip, I think it's just a little iffy. And missing the playoffs twice after all the hype when this dude signed, all the LeBron stands running from Cleveland to LA to follow him, to miss the playoffs twice and to have a first round exit in those 3 of those 4 years is rough, in my opinion. Am I tripping?
No, always, but kind of. When you play in LA, it's different. Like the pressure is on. You don't have time to waste. Not everybody is equipped for that kind of pressure. I'm not saying any names, but it would look like maybe LeBron is not equipped for the Laker pressure. The Laker fans are half horrible, but half like, we gonna ride with you to the end.
But what did he expect going there, sis?
To be in his movie and play a little basketball on the side.
Glad to have Jazz put this on wax. Wow. I just would like to say that I didn't say any of this. This was all Jasmine over
and
here.
I didn't either.
She said Bron's a movie producer and that he was just there to make movies and play a little basketball on the side. I love it.
And this is great because Jasmine is a true Lakers fan, right? Because some people will say that AJ may not be. I'm not saying you're not, but some would say that. And they would just describe me as a hater and discredit anything I have to say. So you bring credibility to this. And
I just want to say, like, born in LA, raised in Atlanta, LeBron is just another team member. Like, look behind me. Does he match with any of these? No. Like, he's just a great player who happens to play on the Lakers.
No, I hear you. I think that's fair. Well, I mean, look, the season isn't done yet. I do want to talk about like, okay, now that we're like midway through the season, a lot of news came out, right? So aside from the Lakers and Bron wanting to go play with Bronny, and now we're talking about what to do with the Lakers. There were other like big storylines though, right? Chris Paul's hand is fractured. Um, how do we feel about the fact that like he just didn't announce that sooner so they could get an injury replacement? Because it annoyed the shit out of me. But then there's other people who are saying like it was his decision. And I'm like, come on, like he would have still been an all-star. He would have still got the honor, just like Dre and Harden and the others. He could have still been there. He was top 75 anyway. But like one of those young guards or someone else who probably may not ever get a chance to be an all-star, Ant, JJJ, even his own teammate Bridges, all of those people were possible people that could have been injury replacements for him. And he played the lowest amount of minutes ever. And it all like, what are we doing? Like, I thought that was some real CP HOE stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Did y'all see the all-time assist list in All-Star games?
Did he get the assist or not? Did he actually get one recorded to pass?
I believe he ended up, I hope Twitter's not lying to me, but I believe he ended up passing or
Magic.
Yeah,
it was Magic. But when I was looking, because some people were looking, they said they didn't see him credited with an assist. So I don't know, but they're saying like that's the reason he played. So no, but seriously, I want to know, like, we know I don't like Chris Paul, so let's just put that out there. But there were other people talking about this too, so it wasn't just me. Do you think that he should have, because we all knew that like his hand, like he was holding it that night. They knew it was fractured. So do you think he should have like let the NBA know sooner so they could have an injury replacement?
Oh, I'll let you take this one first, Jazz.
I like CP. That's tough. I mean, it didn't seem worth it. Like if I'm a fan buying a ticket, it didn't seem worth it to have like one guy who was like in there for what seemed like 2 seconds. On the other hand, it's like work a little harder, beat CP3 out, and then you wouldn't have to be an injury replacement.
I mean, the media is obsessed with him. They think he's better than Devin Booker, so it's a little hard to beat him out fairly.
Also, it's a game for the fans. Like fans vote if they want to see, you know.
They didn't vote for him though. Media did.
It looks like so.
In fact, they didn't even vote for Devin Booker, even with his girlfriend tweeting for him.
So I'm looking at the box score. It looks like CP was not credited with an assist last night. So he really did play some meaningless ass minutes. And I mean, look, I don't know. Maybe he was trying to get a couple cheap joints early because nobody plays defense until like the fourth quarter. Maybe I don't know what his motivation was there. I have no idea. To me it doesn't really matter. Once you start getting down there towards the end, especially since there were already a couple injury replacements, you're like, do these guys really deserve to be at the All-Star game? Like, I love Mikal Bridges, 2-5 affiliated. But is he really an all-star?
I don't think he is, but I do think Ant is having an all-star caliber season. And the thing is, like in the West,
fair.
It's really hard for guards, right? Like CJ McCollum is an all-star level player who never made the all-star game. Look how long it took Mike Conley, exactly. So that's what I mean. It's like there are players who are worthy and they're just in the West, and like you're only going to get 4 guards in the West, and then usually the final 2 will be guards because there's just so many limited guard spots. And you already know Steph is always going to have one of those spots, right? Luka's going to have one of those spots. Like you have the people that are just going to have them no matter what. So I don't know. I guess he's not going to think like that, but I think like that. And I would have liked to see another player get a chance.
Well, I think the bigger thing though is, man, the Suns looked not unbeatable. Obviously, they lost to the Warriors twice already this season. But aside from those games, every night I'd look up and be like, all right, man, the Warriors got a W. Maybe they'll be gaining on the Suns. Nope. the Suns are beating the hell out of some poor team. And really the whole damn league, like they looked pretty unstoppable. And to me, at least they were going to roll to the 1 seed. But like now the CP is out 6 to 8 weeks, which is basically the rest of the regular season. I think the 1 seed's up in the air now. Memphis and Golden State could potentially make a
I
run
don't
there.
think so. Okay, so here's the thing. If you truly believe that Chris Paul is the reason they're winning all those games, and I don't, I mean, I think he's a part of it, but I think that he's not like the way people try to make it seem like he took them from a Paul franchise to, number one. I don't think that shit is fucking true, right? I don't think his leadership is the reason for everything. So,
the difference between him and Campaign is pretty huge though.
It is, but so here's the thing. They are very cohesive. They know how to play together as a unit. And so for the Warriors to catch them, the Warriors would have to go, I think, something like 18-4, which is possible, but not probable, I don't think, right?
Not with the way they seem to be load managing throughout the season. Like they're not going to play Clay in any back-to-back. Steph is probably going to get a lot of rest down the stretch too.
I don't think he will because Memphis is right behind them, but Dre is not going to be back right when we he's not going to be back in their next game. The way they're talking, it seems like he's a mid-March, right? So, but even in theory, they would have to go 18-4 and the Suns would have to go 11-11. Like, I don't think they're going to have a 500 record. They're up 7 games on us and 9 games on Memphis. So I think even if they have like a little losing streak, they'll probably hold on to the number 1 spot. And so that's what you do by getting a cushion, which is why I was never one of those people who was knocking them for like, people are like, they're going so hard for every game. This is why you build cushions, right? Exactly. You remember me arguing this last year with the Warriors, because when Steph went down for 9 games because Steve Kerr didn't want to chase fucking wins, right? That's how you end up in the goddamn play-in spot, right? So now they don't have to worry about it. They can let Chris Paul rehab. They may even choose to manage some other people because they're going to have games that's going to still be easy for them to win even without Chris Paul. So I think they hold on to the number 1 spot.
That is real. What?
I agree with that. I think Suns got it locked, unless they have like an epic collapse, which I don't see happening.
Yeah.
And my CP3 hate is nowhere near the level of Nats. But I think they can. I think they can function well without him.
Yeah. I think this will be Book's time to shine. It might even put him into the MVP race, not as someone to win it, but like maybe he gets like a real nod, like it finishes as like a top 5, right? If he keeps them winning.
He was always my guy from that team as well. Like I'm with you. Like I think whenever you look at some of the national media narratives around the Suns, you're like, dang, CP3 gets a lot of shine when Book's the best player on this damn team. What did you say?
He old and he doing all these things. That don't mean nothing.
What things he doing?
It's the leadership, Nat. It's the leadership.
Swing through flops for free throws at the end of quarters. That's what he's doing. Oh, he's so smart. Oh, he flailed around and got 2 free throws. Mark Jackson. Oh, he's so smart. Oh my God.
It's disgusting to hear.
What a player, the veteran leadership. I think he's incredibly important to the team.
Me too.
I just think Book is the best player on the team. And so if you're it's kind of like Steph's first MVP when he sort of got the best player on best team bump. Like I think if it was a little lesser of an MVP competition this year, I would probably give it to Book. I think he's the best player on the best team.
But you know what I think the difference is with a player like Book versus like when Steph won it is the impact metrics and the advanced analytics put Steph in a much different place than Booker, right? Like his on-offs are not like as impressive as Steph. Like right, to show his value. So I do think he's incredibly valuable to the Suns, but I think, you know, he has to kind of become that next level of player. Like, would you consider him a top 10 player right now in the league?
No, I absolutely not. Absolutely
Right.
not.
Would you, Jasmine?
No.
See, none of us would. He's right there, though. I think he's a fringe top 10 guy.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. I think
12, 13. He's not
yeah,
top 15.
I was about to say he's top 15. Yeah, for sure.
The lower part of 15, yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
he's in there. I think the advanced metrics always are going to be better to Steph just because of, you know, I, the attention he draws because of he has that one skill that's so transcendent.
Right.
And so he's always going to look better in advanced
But
metrics.
they weren't up on him like that yet in 2015. Like,
Right. And Books has a lot more of a traditional game, but his skill set is just as high as some of the highest level players in the
I
game.
agree.
And, you know, there are times I look at Book and I'm like, again, I'm not trying to compare him to Kobe. I know Book hates when he gets compared, but there are times when I look at him and I'm like, it's such a similar skill set. I know. I'm not comparing him. He's nowhere in the stratosphere of a Kobe Bryant, and I'm not trying to compare him. But there are nights I see him when
Did you see him trying to draw fouls last night though in the All-Star game? That's ridiculous. What's wrong with these people?
Yeah, that's the
No, I shouldn't even say try to draw them. He was complaining about like not getting called. Like he's like, I was fouled.
It's the CP3 gene. He passed it on to all his teams.
This is what he does. This is how he infects teams, Jasmine.
First of all, I'm way higher on CP3 than Book. And I know Book does not like the Kobe comparisons, but for some reason they always come up. And I know you weren't trying to compare him, but you legit just mentioned Kobe's name in the same sentence with Book. And I get it. Well, not really. I do not see it. And any man who's like, don't double team me and pick up would never be a Kobe Bryant. So
I gotta say though, I got extremely frustrated towards the end of the game when they started doubling Steph. I was like, come on, man, it's an all-star game. Let my man cook. Like
They did the same thing to Paul George though. Like he wasn't close to breaking that 52 record, but I think he was like gonna be
PG was close to breaking Wilt, and then AD went on to break Wilt's.
Record. So they do that all the time. They try to keep them from breaking records, but he still had a 50 burger. And what was that like though in the like watching it? Was it amazing in there while it was happening, Jasmine?
Yeah, it was crazy. Once again, I was with some people who just did not move, but like the rest of the folks, like everybody got hype. Energy. I don't know how it came across because I didn't watch it back, but the energy in there was crazy. Because everybody,
I think I'm like AJ. I was screaming in my crib.
I think some people like really wanted Steph to break it.
Nat and I went to see Steph live in Brooklyn late 2021, earlier this season, and that was one of the first times where I was like, Steph might actually be a legend. Like he had Barclays sounding like a home game for the Warriors. And so, you know, I just love stuff like that. Now, back in the day, Kobe used to go to Oakland and he would have Oracle sounding like Staples Center. And so, you know, that's the sign of a legend right there. And I think it's pretty amazing that you said that they were booing him, obviously, to start the game, intros, all that. And by the end, you just have no choice but to stand. Like AI, I don't know if you saw that photo going around, but AI, Reggie Miller, and Dwayne Wade are literally hugging in the broadcast booth. They're so tickled by what Steph was doing.
They were super giddy.
I was like, this is pretty insane. Obviously MJ there, Bron's still playing, and just being in the presence of that many GOATs at one time for Steph to go off was pretty special. So it's cool to see my boy cementing his legacy. You know, I guess try not to be sentimental here, but it's cool to see my boy legacy.
Okay, I got two final real quick questions. First, top moment from your favorite moment rather from like the whole All-Star top 75. Jasmine, you go first since you were there in person.
Top moment. I would have to go. This is probably a softball one, but Michael Jordan, only because I'm sitting in my seat, like scrolling Twitter, and somebody said he was at like a NASCAR race or whatever. So I'm thinking he's about to do like a zoom wave like Tim Duncan did. And he just walks out. The crowd erupts. Everybody's on their feet at this point because everybody was kind of like sitting down. It's like you're watching a lot of guys get introduced. He comes out, the building goes crazy. That was by far the best moment.
And I thought it was hilarious that people were saying he saw dudes in the locker room playing spades and hopped on his private jet. It was like, hey man, I can't have y'all out here gambling without me. Shouts to MJ for sure. Like I feel you there. I was hyped to see MJ, and again, that must have been crazy to see that in person. For me, it was the almost half court look away from Steph. Like he's done the look away 3 million times. It's almost boring at this point because we've seen him do it so many times. But for him to do it, that absolutely was the first time I've seen him do that from
at that distance.
35, 36 feet, put it up, turned while the ball was halfway in the air. Like it wasn't even close to the rim and he had already turned and it went in. And I'm just like, how in the world does he do this? And Trae Young's face, like as Steph is running back.
And Giannis. Both of them.
Trae is still watching the ball. Steph's head's already turned. Trae's still watching the ball. He sees it goes in and he turns. He's like, how does he do this? That was the best moment for me. There's a lot of magic going on. Loved all the dunks on Sunday. All the dudes that should be in the dunk contest. Loved all those, but my favorite
was the
half court look away. Ja's amazing, man.
Yeah.
But Giannis and Bron and who else was doing some pretty wild dunks? I mean, even Book had one where he came up out the air on a lob with his left and threw it down, and I was like these dudes have a PhD in basketball. They're some of the most athletic people ever, and I was screaming in the crib watching the whole game. I had a blast.
Actually, I have one more.
Okay.
What I really did love is obviously we're in Cleveland, but showing so much love to these young guys, Jared Allen, Garland, and then when they were in the skills challenge, the other kid, Evan Mobley, like the crowd goes crazy. And I'm thinking like, because it's All-Star, it's like a bunch of out-of-towners, but no, like some legit like Cleveland people bought tickets and they were like showing out. So I think people think that I hate Cleveland. That's not it. But this team is like legit fun to watch now.
The Cleveland Cavaliers?
Yes.
I agree. No, I love that team. And I was just like, the whole like Bron's gonna go back there. I'm like, no, please let him end up somewhere else because they're building something. And whenever he does leave, it's gonna be for a year probably at best. And I don't think it's worth disturbing what they're building. But we don't know what they'll feel.
Quick predictions from y'all. 1, is Bronny going to get drafted? And 2, if he does, which team is going to take that chance to get Bronny and Bron for that final run?
I have no way to speculate on the team, but I do think he's going to it's just too early, but I definitely think he's going to get drafted.
Okay.
I think he is drafted on his name alone.
Right.
Whether he's that good or not in his class.
Same. He's very much, I work for the rankings place. He's very much not ranked where you would expect a guy to be ranked. But I think he gets drafted.
Is he a second rounder right now? Like that's what I've heard, or he's even lower than that?
No, I think he would be, if his name wasn't LeBron James Jr., I think he would go to college. Or he would be where D Wade's son is in the G League somewhere.
Okay.
Oh, I forgot about him.
Yeah. But what team do you think will take the chance, Jazz? I'm curious what you think.
I could see I can see the Blazers
Blazers. Interesting.
taking a chance. It really depends on like who wants LeBron the most.
That's what I'm curious to see. Like, what team wants that final tour?
But do you think he will go to any team? Because like here's like what's playing out right now, right? Like, are the Lakers gonna say like, okay, he's given us his notice, so are they gonna make moves now, or are they gonna keep him till the contract runs out? And then there's like a gap year before the year. So like, will like when his contract's up, will the Lakers sign him for that gap year? Does he go somewhere else? And then when his, there's like lots of questions in here.
Yeah, I think he signs with the Lakers, but he keeps doing like the one and one type deals so that he can easily leave. I think the Lakers obviously would want to sign him because without him, like, what do you have other than like old guys? But yeah, and then maybe I don't know, maybe the Lakers just suck so bad one year that they'll get Bronny.
I'm curious. It's just gonna be fun because we laugh at those old like Mike with the Wizards and like Hakeem with the Raptors and some of these like T-Mac with the Spurs. I think it's just gonna be funny like 10, 15 years from now we look back and it's like, remember that time Bron played for the Wizards or Bron played for the Blazers that one year? Like, I just think it's gonna be funny to look back if it happens. He could also be captain. He also said he was gonna be in the dunk contest.
You know what?
Do you think he's willing to go to any team, like no matter what? Like if it's Oklahoma City, like is he willing to go there?
Yes. That was gonna be my next guess. You know what? Sam Presti has like 35 draft picks.
Yeah, he has draft picks to spare. Yeah.
Yes. He's gonna get it. LeBron's gonna go. LeBron's like, I got the rings, the money, the movie. I want to play with my son to do something like nobody's done before.
Facts. I think it's definitely possible, and I definitely think, I agree with y'all. I think there's a chance we get OKC Bron. It's a chance.
Oh, that's weird.
That would be interesting. Okay, so who do you guys see coming out? And I know that you want it to still be the Lakers, but who do you see coming out the West, and who do you see coming out the East, and then ultimately winning it?
Oh man, I'll go last. Jazz, you take this, man.
This to me. How realistic am I being?
I want you to be like realistic. I want you to be realistic, but then I also want you to tell me like if you see a path for the Lakers, what would it be? How did they get there? So how about that? Two things.
The Lakers get there by the grace of God. Realistically, I could see it's tough because this Warriors team is crazy. Depending on CP3, actually no. I'm gonna go Warriors. But it's really tough. Warriors out the West. I'm gonna go Bulls.
Really? You're moved by the Bulls. I don't hate it. It's just people just seem to not think they're real.
Who's realer? Like aside from like Heat's been okay. I mean they're number one right now.
The Bucks. Some people say the Bucks. People still think the Nets can do something once they're back healthy, and then like some people think the Harden move to the Sixers.
Yeah. No. I'm gonna go Bulls. Like they've been consistent. Who wins it all? I gotta go back to the Warriors.
Good choice, Jasmine. Later after the season, when I played this clip, you're gonna look like a genius.
I think we're all gonna end up being in agreement here at the end. I like the Warriors out the West. I think if the Suns were at full strength, I think the Western Conference Finals would have been a real slobber knocker. You would have had a chance to maybe have a repeat of what we saw with the Rockets and the Warriors in 2018, where it came down to Game 7 and it just so happened that Steph and KD went off at the right time and stuck it to them. With CP being hurt, it gives me a little more confidence that the Warriors will come out the West. However, they have big man issues. And if James Wiseman doesn't come back, or if he comes back and he's not doing what he's capable of doing, there's a chance they get upset. But I'm rocking with the Warriors. I have faith in Steph. I have faith that Clay will continue to get better. He's already had 2 amazing fourth quarters, one of them against your Lakers, Jazz.
Are you worried that Chris Paul won't be good when he does come back? Because, I mean, he'd be scheduled to come back, like, in theory, right at the beginning of the playoffs.
I'm worried that the 6 to 8 week timeline could stretch into 8 to 10. And when he gets back, he won't have his rhythm. And by the time he finds it, they're down 3-2 or 3-1 in the series, and they can't recover from it.
Got you.
I mean, I feel like we've seen some of that in the past. It's the same thing with Wiseman. It's just a really tough proposition to bring someone in a week before the playoff starts or right as the playoffs are starting and ask them to be at their peak. So that's my only thing. But no matter what, I think the Warriors win the West. I think they have the best player in the West who hasn't been playing up to his standards, but will get better as the season progresses, and they'll win the West. The East is a slobber knocker, and it's gonna be crazy. So last season, I thought the Nets were the best team in basketball. I went to game 1 of Bucks Nets. I said, there's no team better than this team right here if they're healthy. James Harden gets hurt. Kyrie Irving gets hurt. They both get hurt 2 games later. They lose to the Bucks. The Bucks win it all. I thought the Nets this year were the best team in the East with James Harden and Kyrie Irving healthy, and they blew the thing up. I still can't believe how much of a shit show that ended up being. I'm rocking with the Bucks. I think Ben Simmons, even if Ben comes in again, he's got to acclimate himself to the team, but then he's still Ben Simmons. So I think that's what you're looking at there. I think James will make the Sixers really formidable, but he's still James Harden. Small game James. End of the year, he won't be playing at his best.
How far did the Sixers get, and how far did the Nets get in the East?
I'm going to say we get a Sixers-Nets second round matchup. And obviously the winner of that, I can't call it right now, but I'll go, if I had to guess, I'll go with the Sixers. So we'll see Sixers-Bucks Eastern Conference Finals. And I think Giannis is just the best player in the world at this point, between him and Steph. But I think he's the best player in the East easily, and he puts it away. So Giannis versus Steph in the finals will be a lot of fun.
So you think it's Bucks Warriors?
I think it's Bucks Warriors. If Harden had stayed in Brooklyn, no lie, Harden had stayed in Brooklyn, I still would have picked the Nets. I still would have said those 3 guys, when healthy, nobody's beating them. But they blew it up. So there you go.
I think that Harden is not the same player who he is, regardless. Like, I mean, I think you're probably going to see him play better than he did in Brooklyn, but I don't think he's the same player. Probably still a top 10 player, probably, but not the same player nonetheless. So and I just feel with that inconsistency of Kyrie, I know everyone's expecting the mandate to like go somewhere, but I just think not having Kyrie Irving for each of your games, like I don't see how you overcome that, like you need your guys to play. So I really didn't have the Nets winning it all no matter what, but I want it to be the Nets. I want Steph versus Kevin Durant. So that's what I'm still hoping for. It's what I want. I want to end all the narratives this year. Every single one of them.
He's gotta be so transcendently special. The same way he was last season against the Bucks, where he was just going off for them to even have a chance. And can he do that coming off of another injury, another lower body injury? Can he be transcendent again and play 48? He was playing 48 minutes last year in the playoffs. I don't know if he can do that again this year.
I just think that listen, Kevin Durant's an amazing talent, but I think that I don't, to me, I think like everyone talks about like the toe on the line and all of that bullshit, but I I think there is a reason why no bag Giannis is doing is doing the things that he does, right? And I think that whatever skill you feel he might be lacking, that's not like Kevin Durant, I think there's a reason why a player like him lifts teammates and his team overall is better, right? And I think that's what you saw play out, honestly, in that series. And so I don't really care who it is. I, of course, got the Warriors. I'm picking the Warriors. I'm going with my guys. And I'm actually more convinced than ever now. After watching Steph last night and watching the way he's been going through the whole postseason, I think he's at that LeBron stage of his career where, like, you remember how Braun would kind of coast a little bit during the regular season and didn't push himself and didn't go hard. And then he knew what he needed to do for the postseason. Because I don't think people give enough time acknowledging that we've been missing. It's kind of weird what I'm going to say, but we've been missing our second best player the entire season, because I look at Clay and Dre like 2A and 2B, right? Some people will say Clay's the second best. Some people will say it's Dre, but one of those two have been missing the entire season, 62 games, right? And the Warriors are still where they are. So he's had to carry an extra load, right? So he does what he needs to. If he needs to be Chris Paul one night and facilitate, he does that. Certain games, they don't need him to take them to heights. He does all of that. And so I think, he wanted to win that All-Star MVP last night. I didn't realize that until like the contest thing, but he was going for it. And then when you heard him in his post game, he was going for it. So I think he always talks about his legacy. People don't think of Steph the way they think of guys like Kobe and Braun yet, but they soon will have to. And so he's very aware of like what his legacy is, what he needs to win, what's missing from his resume. And I think that his sights are truly set on like the postseason. And so I think that's when you're going to see him turn up anyway after post All-Star, because that's what he always does. But I think like you're really going to see another level come, the postseason. So like I said, I want this to be the end of all narratives. And so I am picking the Warriors.
You're rooting for that Nets. You're rooting for that Nets.
I'm rooting for the Nets, but I actually do not think I don't think they are going to come out the East. And I don't think the Sixers are going to come out the East. And that excites me because I'm going to be a menace on Twitter when that happens. But I gotta say, I do think it's probably ultimately going to be the Bucks who come out of the East. I do. I don't know who's going to be in that Eastern Conference final, but I do think the Bucks are coming out the East as well.
Yeah, and piggybacking, just to piggyback one more thing on the legacy talk, all that stuff you just said is the reason why it's so disappointing that he fumbled an easy MVP. I mean, Tim Bontemps took the MVP straw poll quarter of the way through the season, and Steph was unanimous. And for him to just go into the worst shooting slump of his life over the last 30 games is incredibly disappointing, just as a fan. He doesn't have to prove anything.
I really don't think he's fumbled it. I know like it's hard for some people to believe, but he's still in fourth. If he had really fumbled it, they just did another straw poll. He was still in fourth. If he had fumbled it the way people suggested, he wouldn't even be in the top 5. And like, think about how people. What
would Embiid have to do to lose it at this point? Like, Steph would have to go nuclear. He would have to go into like a Kobe-esque 50 points every night type of run to win the MVP.
I don't think he has to do that, but I think if you look at how Embiid wasn't like this from the beginning of the season. Like, people talk like this is how he was playing from day one of the beginning of the season, but he wasn't, right? Like, it's really like a month and a half stretch. Jokic is probably the only one who's been consistent all season, because even like the Bucks and Giannis, they had like some losing spurts in there and stuff like that. He's generally been consistent too. So like, we know with the MVP awards, right? Like, it's a recency bias thing, right? It's like, what have you done for me lately, right? So Like I saw last night an account that is not like a Warriors bias count or anything based on Steph's all-star performance be like, just give him the MVP, right? Like people forget so quickly. They really do. And
You're
so
right about that.
I think what's going to still be in his favor is the team record, right? And he still has a narrative. And like Jokic, I just don't think being a 6 seed is going to be enough for him, right? So you move to the East. And the thing about the East is those standings are so wonky right now. Everyone is like a game apart. So like today, the Sixers are 6, you know, Giannis is 6 one day. So none of those teams have done anything to really separate themselves. I think we need to see what Harden is going to be like when he comes to the Sixers, but I think that's going to impact Embiid's counting stats, you know? So I think that like you may, and then I think that also is going to give them a reason to now maybe manage him a little bit more because you have Harden there. So I know he wants it, so they're not going to completely like pull him out, but I just think that the race is going to get competitive. I think Kevin Durant's going to reinsert himself back in it because I think he's going to come back. I don't think he's going to win it, but I think he's going to come back. The Nets are going to start winning and people are going to be like, oh, look, they're winning again. Kevin Durant, because that's what people do.
This is exactly how MVP races play out.
That's what they do.
It's exactly how they play out.
So if Steph,
they'll go on a 5-game winning streak and it'll be like MVP.
Exactly. So if Steph comes back and he's like, if all-star what we saw, he's not going to be shooting 16 threes a game. But if he's back to like shooting like what he is, and the Warriors go on another win streak, and Dre isn't back yet, and they start to make gains on the Suns, if they get to 60 wins, if
they got to the 1 seed somehow.
If they got to the 1 seed, it's his. It's his
Yeah.
if they get to, but I don't think they're going to get to the 1 seed. But if they can still get to 60 wins, he has a strong chance. So I don't think that he's out of it. I think he's not the front runner. And I think that it's probably Embiid's or Giannis's to lose right now. But I don't think he's out.
I just think if he played average from the quarter mark where it was pretty clear like it's his MVP to lose, if he had just played average for Steph or shot average for Steph, he probably is running away with it now. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see.
I know people are upset by it. And I know Jasmine's like, I don't want to be like a part of this conversation. I could see her face.
No, he's not getting it.
I don't think he will either.
He was high. He was not. He's kind of back. He's not getting it. It's Embiid would have to.
He would have to crack the bed.
He would have to get hurt, which is very possible. I'm not wishing that on him.
Knocking on wood.
It's Embiid. Look at his track record, like Chris Paul. That's what I'm saying. Like, is anyone surprised that Chris's hand is broken? That's what I'm saying.
Same thing with AD.
That's why I'm telling you, they're gonna manage Embiid now that they have Harden. They're not gonna manage him to the extent that his he can't get his numbers. But you guys are forgetting that also. Giannis is right there, and his numbers are actually better than Embiid's. And now you like, and then like again, one wrong, a few losses that you drop. Now they're like there's distance, right? So I don't think, like maybe this is my Steph bias, but I really don't. Just looking at past MVP awards, looking at who's won them, looking at seeding, like 6 seeds don't win, like they just don't. Like Russ was an anomaly.
Unless you're Russell Westbrook.
That's the only one. It's an anomaly. And
even the way the Joker's been playing, I don't know. I would give it to him right now over Steph.
Yeah, but he's not going to get it as a 6 seed. There's also a bias for Joker and Giannis, which is weird, but like, because no, it is. You guys know that there is. I like Giannis, but what I'm saying, I mean, Jokic, but what I'm saying is there's a bias, right? Like people don't want him to win. They didn't want him to win last year. That's why there was that big Chris Paul push at the end of the year, right? Yep. Like they didn't want him to be the person that won. And even this year, if you look at the numbers, there really isn't a case based on the numbers for Giannis, for Embiid over Giannis, and yet everyone is saying it's Embiid, it's Embiid, it's Embiid, right? Because people have this thing about Giannis and the way he plays, and he doesn't have a bag, and all of this bullshit. So like there's like these certain biases. So like a player like Kevin Durant, a player like Steph, actually now the media wants to give it to them. Like I saw like Jason McIntyre, and he had Steph still second on his list. Look at when all the smoke, those guys put out their MVP list.
And Steph was number one.
And Steph was at the top. I'm telling you guys, like you can say like this, that, and that, and this, but I listen to the people who are voters and I look at what they say about their ballots. And when they talk, they want a reason to give it to certain people. So if you give it to them, they will do it. And so anything can change. Anyone can get hurt. Anyone could go on a hot win streak. Anyone could do anything. If the Warriors win 60 games, and all those other teams are way behind them, which they are right now. Some of them may not even get to 50. Like, that's a hard argument to say that one of those other players should be MVP when he got his team to 60 wins and didn't have his second best player the entire season. Like, y'all can be mad about stats, but like, that's hard 60 wins.
Only other thing I'll say though is, for them to get 60 wins, Steve Kerr might have to get hurt.
But right now, they're still on pace.
Mike Brown might have to be the acting head coach for them to get 60 wins. So.
Right now, they're still on pace to win 58, and it's only because they dropped like a few of those other games. So I think another win streak is coming. I don't know how long it'll be, but I think all you need them to do is win like 3, 4, 5 in a row, and then they're right back to like a 60 win pace. So they've been at over or around a 60 win pace the entire season. That's with Dre missing, with Clay missing. So they're going to end up at a minimum around 58 wins. And some of those other teams may not even touch 50. Y'all, like, I'm just saying the history of MVP voting, I cannot ignore it. I can't.
Also, this is just super minor. Let's not mention Jason McIntyre as like the holy grail of.
I'm not. I just used him as an example, but I'm just saying.
He's not the best example, but
he's not good. But what I'm saying is there are other people like him out there. Nick Wright. Look at how he went on TV today bashing Jokic over an All-Star game. He made a whole segment about the fact that this man didn't play in the fourth quarter of an All-Star game. Like, he did that as a real thing.
We are in the golden age of sports content, but also there's so much content and so many hours to be filled that you end up getting segments like that. It's like, let's cut back from like 24 hours of sports content to like 20, and we can cut out some of the BS.
And you have voters like Ramona Shelburne, who tells you that she votes on narrative purely. And she came out and said that. Like,
said that. Yep.
I'm more of a narrative voter. Like, basically, I'm not going to look at your stats. I'm not going to look at anything. I'm just going to vote for the person who has the best narrative. And if you think of like the DPOY race some years ago that Draymond lost, that everyone thinks he should have won, right? He had the most first place votes, but like Kawhi had more second place votes combined with the first place votes. So there's like a path where like Steph can win, but even he may not have the most first place votes.
Even if he has a bunch of second place
right.
votes, yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. It doesn't always play out the way people think. It's like that year when he was an all-star starter and people were mad because that was Russ's triple-double year. And they're like, how the fuck is it Russ starting? You guys need to look at the rules of voting. That's all I'm saying. So
that's facts though. No, I'm with you.
Yeah. So I think, like I said, I don't think it's his. I don't think he's the front runner. I think it's Giannis, honestly, or Embiid to lose, because I just don't think Jokic is going to get to a high enough seed. I think Jokic has to get to top 4, but I think that there is a pathway for other people to enter. What's the guy who does NBA.com? What's his name? You know what I'm talking about? Who does the MVP ladder? I forget his name.
I forget. I was about to say I forget.
But he was just the other day. He was like in a thread, and I was reading. He's like, no, I think Steph can get back in the race. And he does the freaking MVP ladder every week. Is that better than Jason McIntyre for you, Jasmine?
You barely remember this guy's name.
But he's a real credentialed person. His name is just escaping me.
Well, no, wait. A lot of mofos are credentialed. Maybe
but he does the MVP, the NBA MVP ladder. He was having a conversation with someone else.
Is it Michael Wright?
There you go.
There we go.
There you go.
Yeah, I was about to say, because I know my man Sekou, RIP, he used to do it.
Yeah, it's Michael Wright now. Yeah. And he said, he's like, I think those other guys are ahead, but he said, I think Steph can get back in it, and I think Kevin Durant can get back in it. And I was like, oh,
the KD thing is ridiculous to me. You're absolutely right. Like, they go on like a 5-game streak, there'll absolutely be people calling for it, but that's ridiculous. He's missed
way too many
games.
I agree.
Way too many games.
But I bet you he could do something like finish top 5 where he shouldn't.
Right. I agree. I agree.
So it's still open. It's really this little stretch right here, post All-Star, that's going to determine it. So if Embiid just stays at the level he is, if Giannis does, they'll secure it. But if anyone else goes like on a run or a tear, even Luka, you're going to start to see Luka's name emerge into it, because he was on like a big ass tear right before the break. And now I see the Dallas media starting to talk about how he should be in the race. The Mavs have a better record than Jokic. I'm seeing it already.
Oh my gosh, it's insane. This has been fun though, man. I'm on with two legends. Like, I gotta keep,
because we're way over.
I gotta keep saying it. I was on with two legends, Jazz and Nat, my faves, man. I really appreciate you having me on that.
I appreciate y'all joining me and giving me so much time. We like killed Jasmine at the end there. I'm sorry, sweetie.
No, I mean, we're sad. I'm just here to listen, really.
No, but she said it. Steph is not winning anything, so you will also look like a genius again if that happens. And I will play the clip like, look, she said it. She said that I was being delusional.
Also,
AJ was being delusional. And
I never like put myself out there as like an analyst. And like, even when they have like Lakers spaces, they're like, Jasmine, come up and speak. I'm like, hell no. I watched like 10 minutes of this game. I'm just here for the jokes. I'm a casual viewer these days. So.
But you know what you're talking about, though.
She does. She's being humble.
And see how I did not pick the Lakers to come out the West? So
yeah, but you still want them to win, and you, in your heart of hearts, hope that there's a path for them to get there, right?
Yes, I believe in Jesus. So
Jasmine really is a legend. So thank you for coming to the show. You should definitely check out her podcast with Nikias. Hold on, I'm about to pull it up. What is the name of it so I don't forget?
You late.
There you go. But she was actually on a podcast. But actually, I just need to give like a shout out to this, because when you did the podcast, the episode with the other ladies of NBA Twitter, honestly.
Oh yeah, Spinsters, yeah.
Can you just tell people about that really quick before we go so they know?
Yeah, check out Spinsters, Haley O'Shaughnessy, Jordan Williams. They asked me to like do an episode on something I was very passionate about. And so many times I see people like Nat or Haley or like all these different women talking about sports and knowing their shit. Sorry if I can't say shit, but
you can.
And then they're attacked by men. They are DM'd and threatened. So I wanted to get people like Molly and Shawnee and like all these different women from different walks of life. And one of my favorite writers, Caitlin Cooper, who is legit a genius.
Super smart.
And they even like DM her things, like talking about she don't know what she's talking about. And it's a really good episode, and just seeing what they go through and how far like NBA Twitter takes it sometimes. And it's always unnecessary because it is just sports. So.
It really resonated with me. I shared it with so many people. I promoted it. Jasmine is a freaking genius, y'all. So go listen to that episode of Spinsters, but also I don't know anyone who could possibly be listening to my show that's not following you. So follow her. Check out her pod with Nikias. It's kind of like a pop culture, right?
Yeah. Because Nikias is so stat heavy, and I'm just like always chilling. We kind of get a good mid section in between there. Like it's and he puts up with my shit. So and I know that's not easy to do.
I've enjoyed it. I liked it. I was like, your personalities go well together. So I'm a fan. Don't take it anyway that I don't remember names of anything. I barely remember anything, like even birthdays. But I'm just always like Nakias and Jazz's pod. Like that's how I think of it by the
That's
name.
fine. And then sometimes like people I don't even know on Twitter, like I may not know their name, but you say their Twitter name, I'm like, oh yeah, of course.
Right,
Like
right.
the longest time I was referring to AJ as like AJ All Day King, like all the time. It took me a minute to like actually put people's names to their handles. So I'm kind of the same.
Okay, so good, but definitely check it out. It's great. And AJ, as you can see, he's great, really cool. They're both, they're two of my favorite follows. Jasmine, I always laugh at anything she puts up because she has an amazing sense of humor. She like is a queen of social media. Like I wish I could be as great as her. And AJ is oh, thank you. She's telling stories, but thank you. And and AJ, no, for real, because like he just like you have like the greatest memes and like your videos. And I'm like, how do people find this? Like, I'm like so fascinated by y'all. So follow them because they're good follows, but also they're good people. And I really appreciate you both coming on. Thank you so much.
Anytime.
Take care, guys. Until next time, follow, subscribe, download, you know what to do, rate. All those things are important. Take care, everyone.